Okay, hi everyone. So today I'm going to present about music and film. More specifically, I'm going to attempt to tackle the functions of music and film. So before we dive into it, and if my camera would allow me to, thank you, I would like to establish some important terminology. So, first of all, what is film music? Is it what we call film score or is it what we call soundtrack? Well, film score is original music written specifically to accompany a film. Soundtrack refers to any song, any musical arrangement that you hear throughout the movie. So, the latter is more inclusive. And today, when I'm going to be providing different examples, there are not only going to be soundtracks, but they're not only going to be film scores, but also soundtracks. Another important distinction is characteristics, not functions, characteristics. However, it's important to evoke them because they are interrelated with functions. And you're going to see that when I'm going to be discussing them in a second, I will not be able to do so without evoking functions. So the first one, what is diegetic music? So diegetic music is any music that is part of the fictional world. And so by being part of the fictional world, it means that the characters are hearing this music. So here's an example from a TV show, The Queen's Gambit. And we're going to hear a beautiful piece by Eric Satie played by the mother.
It's early, dear. You don't have to be up for another hour yet.
Okay, so by contrast, the background music that cannot be heard by the characters is termed non-diegetic. So here's an example. We're gonna hear a beautiful piece from the Notebook. And although this piece is not heard by the characters, it serves an important function. It allows us to set the tone and the atmosphere of the scene. We are not part of the fictional world, so we are not directly experiencing what they are experiencing. But by employing music, we are actually closer to their world and to what they are feeling. Okay, so when diegetic and non-diegetic are used in juxtaposition, we call it transdiegetic, which means that we employ both not only in the same project, but also one after the other. So we see the transition from one characteristic to the other. So perhaps one of the most prominent example is when a character is humming a tune, and we see that tune little by little developing and becoming an actual song that's bigger than the fictional world of the character, and it becomes part of our world as well. Here's an example that is also important. When music is played over the opening credits of a film, it's non-diegetic. But then once the title sequence ends, that same music becomes part of the fictional, of our world, because we start, no, that's, okay, that's actually wrong. And I'm not gonna re-record, so I'm gonna re-explain. Okay, so when music is playing over the opening credits of a film, it's non-diegetic. And then once the opening credits end and it becomes we start to hear it from one of the sources in the fictional world, it becomes diegetic. And here is an example.
When I bust rhymes, big like Leanne rhymes, because I'm all about value. Campers got the mad hits. You try to match wit, you try to hold me by the bust through. Gonna make a break and take a pick out like a sink and they can check out like vanilla. It's the finest of the flavors. And see the truth is, and you know the vertigo is gonna go. Cause it's so dangerous, your life is out of labor.
Actually, this technique serves an important function. It links the credit sequence, as I said, with the opening scene, because it allows the audience to ease into their role more smoothly. And it's that role of play pretend that we're going to engage with this fictional world and we're going to dive into it. So this function actually allows us to dive into this role smoothly. Okay, so now I talked about characteristics and I evoked functions because we cannot do one without the other. Now I'm going to try to speak of functions independently. The first one, it is perhaps one of the oldest functions of music, is commentating on what you're seeing. Here we are precisely matching the visual tone with the oral tone. Here the music must perfectly complement the mood created by the on-screen elements, whether that is the image, the motion, the brightness, the colors, and I believe this example illustrates that perfectly. Okay, so usually some confuse this function with the following one, which is creating atmosphere. So in creating atmosphere, you are not commentating on what you are seeing. Rather, you are employing your music to set the tone and to make your audience interpret what they are seeing the way you intend them to. So you control this. To illustrate this function, I created this video with the help of a friend who recorded me in a coffee shop, and of course with the consent of the people who are going to be present in one person is going to be in the frame. And I attempted to demonstrate this through this video how if we provide a neutral image, the music can actually control how you interpret it and how you will feel about it. So. Okay, so the last function before we move to the last part of the presentation is that sometimes we don't need to mention a place or a specific cultural heritage of a certain group. Because music can definitely accomplish this function on its own. However, sometimes this can lead to stereotyping, and the portrayal of the Middle East through the music usually it does not honor the culture as it should. So here's an example. Okay, so there are innumerable functions that I will not be able to cover in one presentation, but I try to cover the main ones. And in order to complement this presentation, I conducted an interview with a friend who composes music for film. So I will show you this video in a second.
And the functions of taking part of this. Hi, thank you for taking part of this. I'm very happy that I'll be conducting this interview with you. As you know, I'm going to be, so I am discussing in my presentation the functions of music and film. And as you do compose music, I'm sure that my audience will benefit very much from your experience. So before we begin, would you like to present yourself, or would you like me to present you?
Hi. So first of all, thank you for the invitation. And I would like to mention that I will be happy if you not comment my English, as it's my third language, maybe or fourth, I don't know. So, you know, in Tunisia, we really don't speak English. And yeah, I will present myself.
So before I continue this, I want to say that this friend does not really speak English, and he tried to make this effort because he knows that the audience speaks English. So I really want to thank him for this.
You keep your energy for the next questions that you need to do. So my name is Ilyas Blegi. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a teacher in the High Institute of Music of Tunis, and I'm also preparing my PhD on musique de voyage, which is called traveling music. Basically working on musicians from the European continent that have been in North African countries. So, and I started my music career as, I mean, in the conservatory, I studied classical piano, basically. So I've gone through classical repertory from Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, and many other composers. And when I started studying in High Institute of Music, where I teach right now, so I started studying music theory, harmony, compositions with Mr. Wanis Khijan. And then, I mean, I started composing at an early age. I think I was 17 when I started to compose for the first time, but it was I had a band with my mates, and it's rock band, so started like doing popular songs, rock songs, stuff like that. Then I started composing for piano, and like 8 years ago, my brother, who is a movie director, asked me to do music for his first short movie, and I enjoyed the experience, to be honest. So since then, I started studying movie scores composing and all things related to soundtracks and all. And then after that, I went through history of movie music, and we studied with Madame Sindazin Abdin the relationship between picture and sound, which was like very great course to take during my master degree. And then I kept composing. I composed stuff for I started with little stuff like for little pieces of theater, short movies, stuff like that. Basically, students' final year projects. And then I got a very important experience working with Walt Disney Paris. So I had to write music for the Disney singer called Cherise Caliste, and I had to write it in, not like doing a new arrangement, but it was more like composing the music in the style of Tunisian traditional music, so they can do a tour with that. And it lasted for 2 years. And then later I started working with a director called Bilal Mezni on some movies, mainly documentaries. So, which was like a very, very great experience. And since then, I'm working on composing. Now I'm on a project, a short movie produced in London, and a short movie and a long movie, and the feature film we are doing here in Tunis. Also, I'm working on a ballet, or you can say musical comedy, and a piece of theater. They're like my engagement for the moment. Okay. So that's all.
Okay, so from your experience, you have like various experiences in different genres in composing for film and theater, and also composing in general. My question is, since I'm focusing on film, which genre of film you are more comfortable composing in? Because you talked about documentaries and you talked about working with Disney, and so these are various and very diverse experiences. Which one do you feel more comfortable composing in?
So, as I told you, a musical career is a bit complicated in the whole world, so you don't really have the choice to be comfortable with something or not. But we have to work and go through all the experiences in order to make a career. But if I have to choose, maybe science fiction, horror movies, like my favorite. Even they are not like the most movies I watch, but I think I feel more comfortable writing music for that kind of movies. But there's something like very important, as when you write the music for a movie, it's totally different from doing it for anything else. So it depends on the director. If you are working on a horror movie, it's not necessary that you will be doing some dark music. Sometimes the director wants to have what we call a paradox. So, for example, I remember there's a movie. It was like noir movie, I think. No, not noir movie. It's a dark movie. It's called Jeepers Keepers. And the music, when I was young, it was like very remarkable, since it was a swing movie, I think, or a country movie. And it was like in G major, that key, but it was like very, very horror, very dark movie. So it depends on a lot of things. So I think if I answer properly the question, I would say I would be comfortable doing any kind of music if the director is a good one. Makes the job much more easier.
Fair enough. Since we're talking about the director, I have this question and this thought of where's the limit between your vision and the director's vision and composing the music? Because you are the composer, you are creating the music, but then you have to abide by the director's vision. But then at times the director doesn't have enough expertise to really have a say in how the music is composed, or maybe they don't realize how that music is going to be interpreted with the image because you have more experience. So how do you resolve such issues?
Actually, I think it's important to make sure. As I told you, it depends. Some directors have a very precise vision of the work and all of that, but it's important to satisfy the director as he is the main leader of the project. But it's a bit complicated, since you can take the example of Tim Burton. He always works with Danny Elfman, as he's satisfied with the styles he provides. But sometimes you have to take some risky moves. For example, I don't know. As an example, if a director asks me to do something dark, so it's dark, it's easy. You just have to follow the steps. But if the director gives you like a shot or a scene and he says, "Can you do the music for this one?" So this is where you have to choose your own parts and assume your responsibilities later. So I think there is all you have to do is to find a compromise with the director.
Okay, so since you talked about it depends on what the director is going to ask you, so here we are talking about what function you're going to accomplish in the movie. And my last question is, earlier I asked you if you had a favorite genre to compose for, but now I want to ask you if you have a favorite function. Do you like commentating on music, or do you like setting the atmosphere, or is there something that you find easier than other, maybe creating a contrast, or maybe referencing a place geographically? So is there something that you like to do more? Because I would think that commentating relates much more to the movie, to the motion that's created on the screen, than just creating a score for a film, or just trying to set the atmosphere for a scene, because one is more detailed than the other.
Actually, I think that one of the most important things to do when you are writing a movie score or music for a movie, you have to first of all to study the whole script and to study every character, so you can provide something like rich. I'm teaching composition in here, also with piano classes and choir classes, and I always say the most important thing for me is the sound. So sometimes you can make something with just one note and it can have many functions. But sometimes you can do a lot of things at the same time, and you can do a function. You can satisfy the director, you can satisfy the scene. So I think it depends on how you picture the sound. If I choose properly the word, the first thing I do is I study the script, I study every character, and then I use only the piano for composing. Sometimes I don't even use it. I use only my computer to write scores directly. But as I told you, it depends on the mood. So, for example, if I want to work on a scene when there is, I don't know. I remember, for example, something I worked on. Bilal Mezni, as I told you, documentary. It was about the last one. It was about horse races. And the first thing I had in mind, I said, horses, they have a 6/8 rhythm when they are running. So why not the music on a 6/8? So and I picked up something that sounded really hybrid on the first time. It was an Algerian popular Melodia Campus, and it was something like that. And first, the director said, "I don't know if it's gonna be working." I said, "Let's just try it. Then, if it's not working, we will record something else." And it worked. So the function here was describing the horse's rhythm. And it was like the first scene. So the horses were like running, and they wrote this music, and it was like it was good when you check both the sound of the image. But sometimes, I mean, mainly all the people prefer to write narrative parts, like easy things, put some chords, use some strings, sometimes only piano. Maybe sometimes they choose like classical music, as it's free, there is no copyrights on it. But I don't know. I really don't have a favorite function. I think it depends, as I told you, on the movie, on the mood, and all. I mean, sometimes I remember the last movie I'm working on, the director asked me to do just a theme on Carol of the Bells. I don't know if you know that Christmas song. And I don't know, this one. And they said, I would like to hear this all over the movie. And they said, but this is going to be a hard task since it's repeating all over the movie, and I don't know if people are going to like it. So he said, no. I want a hint of it. So the thing is, like, when we compose stuff, like in opera, there is leitmotif, which is a song or sound related to one character that's repeating all over the world. So I was doing this. I recorded in orchestra version, I recorded in piano version, on glockenspiel version. Later I recorded on major. I recorded on dark one, on virtuoso one. It was like that. And the director was like, okay, I will choose the one I like. It was like 2 hours of music for a movie of 10 minutes. So it's a bit hard task. But as I told you, it depends on many things. If you go through the history of music making, you can see that important classical figures like Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev were also music composers. And even there's that movie which is called in 1941, I think, it's Dangerous Moonlight. It's a British movie. They asked Rachmaninoff to do the music, but Rachmaninoff refused. He said he was too engaged. So they asked for Richard Adensel, which is like very known composer, and they said, please, can you do something for us in the style of Rachmaninoff? So the director sometimes asks the music not as a function for the movie, but also as a reference for trading and stuff like that. So it's complicated job, but you just need to enjoy it. So things gonna be easier.
Thank you. I'm actually very, very glad that I did this because you enriched my presentation in many, many ways, and you're gonna help me rectify many parts that I already worked on. Before we finish, is there something important about the function of music in film that I did not ask you about, and you think that it's very valuable to share with the audience?
Actually, I think that the most important thing we need to mention is that movie writing music for the movie and stuff like that is something that we study and we work hard on it. So I think, guys, if you are working on on music class, please don't take it lightly. It's like very, very sharp, and you have to be able to use all the materials from playing your instrument, writing music harmony, all of this. And I think that there is a lot of bad things happening on this work, since sometimes it's not more referred as music scoring, but it's referred as sound design. But it's not like working like that. I mean, it's important to understand every move. So yeah, I think, as I told you, one of the most important things is to really study your script. That's the most important part. If you study the script, everything gonna be easier. Don't study the script, you are gonna mess. So I think it's like that.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, truly.
And thank you, guys. It's weird looking at myself for 20 minutes. Thank you if you made it this far. And that's it. How to stop this? Okay.